Hello, freaks, geeks, basement dwellers, and nerds. Welcome to the Nerd Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And I will explain why I think the Battle of Crait Six was a boring battle, and why it needs to be improved, and how I would have improved it to give us a more fun, dynamic, adventurous battle sequence that would have been really enjoyable for everyone to watch. So let's get into my thoughts on the battle in the movie and what I think it should have been to make it more adventurous. So the battle at Crait Six, it's just silly and it's boring and it makes no sense whatsoever. It brings us nothing as viewers. It's such a wasted opportunity, if you ask me. And yes, the whole premise here that the rebels have locked themselves up in this base, and the new order arrives with this huge army, and they bring this massive battering ram style gun based on Death Star technology. It's just pure nonsense. But what is even worse about it all is how this quote unquote battle ends. And of course, it begins with the end begins with this ridiculous counterattack by the rebels when they or the resistance when they launch this weird salt flat sled thing attack with a dozen vehicles that rush out towards the new order, and they do nothing. They just, no, we're not going to do anything. We're gonna not going to attack the legs or joints or whatever. We're just going to turn away. And Finn decides, to no, we need to stop the big gun, otherwise the new order will enter the base and kill everyone. So he decides, I'm going to crash and slam into that thing and save everyone. And then the dumbest thing ever, when Rose, she is so misused in the trilogy here. They make no proper use of this character, and it's not the actress' fault and stuff like that. They just writers have made horrible decisions concerning Rose. So she shows up out of nowhere and slams into Finn's speeder and saves him, so he can't commit this heroic act. Which means what is the implications here? What is the end result? That means that the new order will crack open the base and will be able to push in with troops and kill everyone in the base simply because Rose decided to save Finn. So here and now, at this point, the resistance is over. They have lost. The bad guys have won. That is what the writers thought was a good story arc for Rose. It's complete nonsense. What the hell kind of a plot line is that? And if, of course, the writers thought it was a cool idea to do this in order to set up the next scene, of course. But I mean, just think about it. At this very point, Rose is the single reason why the resistance fails and the new order wins the civil war. Beyond stupid. Because if this guy had not shown up, well, he doesn't show up, but he, projects his force being or whatever across the galaxy. If Luke does not show up at this point in time, the new order pushes into that base and kills everyone inside of it. But instead they make, we're gonna have Luke force project across the galaxy. It's gonna be awesome. Yada yada. No, it's the dumbest sci-fi battle ever. It's so goddamn silly, which is why I decided to, in a fan fiction, rewrite the entire thing. So in my story, you have multiple things happening at the same time. You have the big battle on the ground. At the same time, you have a confrontation in space on the New Order fleet where you have Kylo bringing, I mean, I'm not going to go into all the details, but basically Luke and Rey arrives at the last moment to try and help their friends. They get tractor beamed onto the Supreme Leader's ship, and Kylo is up there in space and brings Luke to the Supreme Leader, and it ends up in a big fight while you have the ground battle as well. So that is the premise, but we are not going to go into every every tiny detail. We're going to focus on the Crait Six battle the way I would have liked to see it play out on the big screen. So we are now going to move over to my interpretation, my version of the battle at Crait Six. So my storyline differs a bit from the movie. Obviously, you're gonna be seeing characters, or I will be explaining, describing characters and stuff like that are at this battle. They're not at the battle in the movie, and some additional characters, stuff like that. You just be prepared for that. But essentially, there was a big chase in space, and the Resistance landed at an old Imperial base on Crait Six. They've placed 2 corvettes, the last remaining ships, in front of the base, and uses them as fortifications that help out with the fight and what have you. And the New Order has deployed, they move in with their own troops and deploy them for a ground assault. So we have 4 large First Order transports fly in and deploys 2 First Order walkers each, and other transports unloads 3 full regiments of stormtroopers with 2 dozen ATSTs in support. So it's a massive army that deploys at distance from this base. And at the base, Holdo, Mass, the orange pirate lady, and Stamets, a resistance officer, they step out onto a balcony along the mountainside. They can clearly see the First Order army in the distance, while Republic soldiers hurry to fill the trenches. And the resistance is not resistance, they are actually the Republic that is being invaded by the New Order. And their soldiers hurry to fill trenches and setting up heavy weapons, powering up cannons. It's basically the Battle of Hoth, but on Crait Six at this moment. And the large turrets on the 2 corvettes, they turn around and take aim at the enemy army in the distance. And this is when the First Order walkers, large 8, the large guerrilla walkers, 8 of them, begin to advance with the rest of the troops in support. Now, important to remember here is that the guerrilla walkers are not massive in size in my version here. Slightly larger than in old Imperial walkers, but not massively, outsizing them. So the Imperial army is now the First Order army is now on the move towards the base. Now, like I said, things are happening in space as well, but we're focusing on the ground battle. The First Order walkers and the 2 corvettes, they exchange fire, and one of the walkers succumbs to the incoming fire and topples over. And accompanying the New Order force is a command shuttle, more like a hovering bunker than anything, and it hovers behind the First Order front lines. And on board we have a Colonel Relmar, and he oversees the battle from this hovering bunker. And he tells his troops that the rightmost corvette has the weakest shields, and he wants them to increase pressure on that ship, which means that 4 smaller ATSTs armed with a single large cannon, they have like a large howitzer, almost laser howitzer, right next to the cockpit. They move up and begin to engage the corvette in question, adding their firepower to the fight. And this is when the main gate on the base itself begins slowly to open up, dust falling from its cracks and edges. Something is going on. The Republic has something in mind, and on the command shuttle, Colonel Relmar takes a step closer to the viewports. He addresses the fact that the main gate is opening, and he wants his troops to be ready for a countermove, and he orders 8th and 9th Company to stand by. He's a competent commander. He sees something is happening and he's getting ready for it. But he is not prepared for what happens next, because we've seen this in the storyline. We've seen our heroes moving through the base and they find this awesome thing that makes them think they actually stand a chance in the fight. And what is revealed when the gates have opened to the base is that out of the base emerges 3 old Imperial design AT-AT walkers. And of course, they are operated by our heroes. Finn is standing behind Republic soldiers operating one of these walkers, and he has the command periscope lowered, and he is scanning the First Order walkers up ahead, and he speaks via a headset. This is Walker 1. Remember, go at them at full speed. They have the better guns, but nothing beats old Imperial vehicles when it comes to thick, heavy, durable armor. Now, Poe and Rose, they pilot one of the other walkers, and in my version of these movies, I use Rose as a competent technician and engineer. She actually saves the heroes on a number of occasions. Her skills matter. She is pivotal for the heroes to succeed in various adventures and what have you. She's just not this weird random girl that's in the movies, right? So she has a role to play. So, but here she is together with Poe, and they are now piloting an Imperial AT-AT. And Poe replies to Finn, Roger that, Walker 1, Walker 2 is running like the wind, and Rose offers a snarky comment, more like crawling like a slug since they're in slow-moving AT-ATs. And the 3 Imperial walkers, they move up between the 2 corvettes. Finn locks onto one of the First Order walkers using the periscope. It says target locked, maximum firepower. Obviously, it's a callback to the Battle of Hoth. And Walker 1 fires its main cannons and hits its target, forcing a First Order walker to take a sidestep from the impact to not lose balance. But within moments, the First Order walker continues to advance on the base with the rest of the force. All walkers in the battle exchange fire. The corvettes open fire with their turbolasers. Each walker takes several hits. It's a big battle. Walker 2 takes a hit from a First Order walker over the head, and Walker 2 is where we find Poe and Rose. And Poe exclaims from the hit, since they take it straight to the head. He's pale in the face, and he says, we took that head on. And Rose points at the viewport and says, cracked. And Poe spots indeed a massive crack in the armored glass, and he sighs and says, these old Imperial walkers sure knows how to take a punch. And the walker then shakes as it gets hit again and goes, son of a. And at this point, the 2 corvettes, they actually bring down another First Order walker with their turbolasers. So it crashes and blows up, and it's a wreck. And on the hovering command shuttle, Colonel Relmar, the New Order officer, studies the battle with a pair of magnoculars and then turns to his crew and says, those walkers are only a decoy. They are drawing fire away from the corvettes. Have our walkers concentrate fire on the ships. We must take them out and their turbolasers along with them. So Relmar decides that the 3 Imperial walkers, it's a distraction. He wants to focus efforts on those corvettes with the heavier guns, and that is the new direction, the new focus for the New Order army as it continues the assault. At this point, the battle has been ongoing. Things haven't been happening elsewhere in space, but when we return to the battle for Crait Six, the weaker corvette loses its shields and starts taking hits to the hull from the New Order walkers. And all of the walkers exchange fire, obviously. Walker 3, the Imperial AT-AT, loses a leg from the incoming fire and gets hit 2 more times, which results in it toppling over, and it crashes hard into the ground. And Rose notices this and calls out Walker 3 is down, as she's looking out from the cockpit of Walker 2. Keep going, Finn says from his walker over the via the headset, and he then says, keep pushing right at him. He has a plan. He needs them to keep going. And Walker 2 takes hits to its main body. Poe shakes his head, and he's like, how much more of this can we take? And Rose replies, sitting right next to Poe in the cockpit, hopefully a lot. And the First Order walkers, they keep firing at the unprotected Corvette. Walker 1 and 2 are closing in on them. And like we said, the First Order walkers are only slightly larger than the older Imperial AT-ATs. So they're not double in size, just slightly larger. The Corvette takes several hits, and its crew begin to abandon ship via ladders and lifts. And as the crew run for the base, the Corvette succumbs to the incoming fire behind them, and landing gears break, and it topples over, taking massive amounts of hits. And Walker 1 and 2 at this point actually begin to walk in between the First Order walkers and ending up with one enemy walker on either side of them. So they have pushed up to the New Order line of walkers, and they have now moved in, so they have walkers on either side of them. Now, Colonel Relmar on the bunker shuttle, he lowers his binoculars, looking on what is happening, and says, "What the hell are they doing?" He doesn't understand what the Republic are doing with these walkers. And inside Walker 1, Finn enters the transport compartment where we have 20 Republic soldiers waiting, and he says, let's hope this works. And he puts on a harness. And on either side of the compartment, one soldier opens a big side door that we can see on the old Imperial AT-ATs, and they slide them open. And another Republic soldier then adjusts a robotic arm thing from the ceiling, and a cable with a mag hook is launched by this arm / cable cannon, and the hook sticks to the armored hull of a passing First Order walker. And while Finn begins to attach a link between his harness and the cable, another soldier is already good to go on the opposite side. And this soldier slides along the cable over to the First Order walker, and when it reaches the hull, he sticks an explosive on a hatch, turns his head away, the hatch blows open, and then he throws in a satchel charge. The soldier quickly detaches the mag hook and jumps down, and this allows him to swing down in under Walker 1 moments before the First Order walker suffers a massive internal explosion from the satchel charge, and that brings down the First Order walker, just like we see things happening on the Battle of Hoth, essentially. So now the Republic has brought down this big, massive New Order walker. Finn slides over along his cable. He hits the hull of the enemy walker, attaches the explosive, and blows open the hatch, just like the other soldier did. As he is about to throw in the satchel charge, an AT-ST has moved up and opens fire at Walker 1, Finn's Imperial walker, and the AT-ST hits the open side door. So the armor has been moved. The AT-AT has its interior exposed, and this is where the AT-ST now opens fire at. The cable gets blown from the explosion, and Finn falls and hangs from this cable halfway down to the ground, and the cable is still attached to the New Order walker, so he has been cut off from the Imperial walker. Flames and smoke escapes the cracked side armor of Walker 1. Walker 2 does the exact same thing, opening up the side doors, and has two soldiers ready, launching cables at the New Order walkers. Two soldiers on either side, one on either side, slide over. They are successful, blowing open the hatches and throwing in satchel charges, and then detaching and sliding back to Walker 2, which results in two First Order walkers exploding and falling over. And Poe howls at the success, says, "Yeah, take that, you goddamn bastards." And then he angles the guns on his AT-AT and opens fire and destroys an AT-ST further up ahead. And from the command shuttle, Colonel Relmar, of course, sees the entire line of walkers. 5 of his 8 are currently burning, so in a heartbeat, he lost most of his heavy walkers. So he turns to his officers, red in the face, and shouts, "Ignore the corvette, take out those walkers." And at this point, Finn is still hanging from the cable underneath the New Order walker, trying in vain to climb up to reach the main structure of the vehicle. Walker 2 guns down 2 more First Order AT-STs as the battle continues. A First Order Walker turns its head and hits Walker 2 with a couple of salvos, and Rose looks out the side viewport and says, "Heavy Walker turning on us. It won't be long until they can fire the main cannon at us." That big gun you can see on top of the back there, just above the head. The First Order Walker slowly turns, trying to aim its main gun at Walker 2, and Poe tells Rose, "Turn us around, hurry." And Rose pulls on her controls, and Walker 2 slowly begins to turn. So these two walkers are kind of circling at each other, and it all comes down to who can cut that corner the tightest in order to aim at each other. Finn is still hanging from the cable and can only watch as the First Order Walker he is attached to turns around and opens fire on Walker 1, hitting Walker 1 in the already cracked side armor. Remember, Walker 1 was the one Finn was operating, and took that hit from an AT-ST, and now it's taking hits from one of these big gorilla walkers straight into that exposed side section of the Imperial Walker. So 3 salvos from the Gorilla Walker's head cannons, and Walker 1 topples over, crashing forward into the ground and detonates. And Finn finds renewed strength. He gets angry, upset, adrenaline fills his body, and he begins to climb the cable in earnest up towards the superstructure of the New Order Walker. Rose steers Walker 2, while Poe climbs back and pulls down the command periscope. Poe aims for the heavy cannon on the enemy walker. Locked on, he says, powering up the guns. Rose pulls her controls. Walker 2 takes a sidestep, and Poe's periscope indicates he can fire. The chin guns open fire with maximum firepower, and they hit the heavy cannon on top of the Gorilla Walker, and they blow it apart to Kingdom Come. Now is when Finn realizes that his First Order Walker that he is trying to reach and climb up to, it is heading to come up behind Walker 2. So he struggles to climb even faster because he realizes that the walker he is attached to is trying to move up behind Rose and Poe and engage them from behind. At this point, at the base itself, a pair of blast doors slowly open, and Republic troops help to push them open. So they're struggling, they don't have power, things are not working. They're using, their own strength to open these doors. And then a classic style Imperial turret box structure is pushed out and into place on a platform. So there's a platform, and they push out this big turret by shoving it, and then Maz shows up. She's a big part in the trilogy, as I envision it, not just some weird side character. She plays a big role. She climbs up a ladder and sits down by the gun controls, and then a Colonel Stamets, one of my own creations, shows up, runs up with a thick power cable and hooks it up to the turret, and tells Maz, "There, you got power." And Maz now charges up the guns, and everything is working in the turret. She takes aim with the gun and opens fire with the dual cannons, and the blaster rounds hits the First Order Walker that has lost its main cannon that Poe took out, and she hits it over the body section. The last corvette fires as well, hitting the same target, and together they bring down this New Order walker, and it crashes into the ground and is taken out of the fight. Finn climbs the cable. He's trying to get up along, and he realizes that the New Order walker is taking aim at this point at Walker 2. The New Order walker fires its main gun, the Gorilla Walker's main gun, and hits Walker 2 in the rear. The body section erupts from the explosion. The rear armor is not as thick as other sections, and Walker 2 topples over. And on board Walker 2, Poe and Rose scream as they crash towards the ground. And in a way, I actually came up with this before I even knew this was a thing in Jedi Fallen Order. But it's the exact same thing. We are within the cockpit. We're behind the pilot, the crew member seats, and we follow them down towards the ground, just like we bumped into the desk here, just like we see when Luke crashes on Dagobah and stuff like that. We're in the cockpit with Poe and Rose as they crash down into the ground. I think it would be a very dramatic and memorable scene as they crash. And Walker 2 hits the ground hard, and Poe and Rose are thrown against the consoles of the cockpit. And this obviously enrages Finn, and he begins to climb, even more determined at this point, having seen his friends go down in this manner. 6 AT-STs armed with these big howitzer-style heavy blasters open fire on the last corvette, as does the last of the First Order walkers, larger walkers, Gorilla walkers. And as the blast hits the corvette's hull, the crew abandons ship and runs for the base, and behind them, the corvette gets shot to pieces. Mass fires her turret and hits the last of the Gorilla walkers. The explosion against its hull has Finn dangling back and forth out of control. The Gorilla walker takes aim. Mass realizes what's about to happen, so she hurries to get out of the turret, and she and the other Republic troops, they leave the platform in a hurry. The Gorilla walker opens fires, its main cannon situated on its back, and that one blast takes out the turret in a big explosion. So had Mass stayed in the turret, she would have died, and that turret is now forever taken out of action. On the command shuttle, Colonel Relmar nods with a smile and says their main defenses are destroyed. Now all that remains is clearing out the base. Send in the troops. Full attack. So dozens and dozens of speeder transports that carry 12 stormtroopers each race across the salt desert, flying past the AT-STs and the last remaining Gorilla walker, and Finn looks down at the transports as they head for the base. He climbs the cable and at last manages to grab hold of the hull of the walker, so he has a firm hold and can begin to try and get up onto that side platform where he can enter through the blown open hatch. Republic troops, they fill the trenches in front of the base and the large gates that are open. An officer looks at the incoming enemy troops through his binoculars. Fire, he calls out to his troops, and the entire line of Republic troops open fire. The assaulting First Order vehicles return fire. It's a huge shootout. At this point, Finn reaches over to the blown hatch. He finds a grip and manages to pull himself inside the Gorilla walker. And now inside the last of the First Order Gorilla walkers, Finn, with a blaster drawn, he moves through the vehicle, gunning down First Order crewmen as he moves and comes across them. He makes his way into the cockpit and quickly guns down the two pilots and the commanding officer, and drags one of the pilots from the seat and takes control over the walker. So a fast-paced scene as he's moving through the narrow corridors and guns down various enemies as he's moving forward and pushes into the cockpit to surprise the commander and the two pilots, and now he's in control of the entire thing. As that is happening, the First Order troop transports comes to a stop, and they unload their troops right on top of the trenches. The First Order stormtroopers assault the Republic positions on foot, supported by AT-STs. The Republic troops in the trenches are overwhelmed. The First Order soldiers, the stormtroopers, they bring with them flamethrowers, hand grenades, everything. It's a big fight, but the Republic troops can't hold. And this is when the First Order begins getting hit by friendly fire from the last of the guerrilla walkers. And it is, of course, Finn who is firing his guns time and time again at the First Order troops, just before they manage to overwhelm and break through the Republic lines. So while Finn is blowing up the New Order army from behind, Poe and Rose climb out of the wreck of Walker 2, and they are both in pain after that horrific crash, bleeding from cuts. And half a mile or so away, the battle rages outside of the base. And turning, they see First Order support units slowly advancing, and they see the command shuttle hovering in mid-air like this big floating bunker. And Poe tells Rose, "I got an idea," and she says, "Should I be worried?" At the trenches, First Order troops and Republic soldiers are gunning at each other. Finn is blasting away with the guerrilla walker at AT-STs and stormtroopers, and eventually the stormtroopers fall back in full retreat. The Republic troops gets out of cover, and they begin to cheer in triumph as the guerrilla walker is helping them out, gunning down the last remaining First Order units. Meanwhile, Poe and Rose, they climb back out of the wrecked Walker 2's main hull, and together they begin setting up a heavy blaster cannon of the kind we see Imperial snowtroopers assemble in The Empire Strikes Back. And once put together, Rose hooks up the gun to a power pack, and Poe takes aim and begins to fire time and time again at the command shuttle. And on board the command shuttle, Colonel Relmar turns to his crew and says, "Take us out of here." Poe keeps firing, and in the end, the command shuttle comes crashing down and explodes on impact. And at the Imperial base, an armored door opens, and Holdo and Stamets runs out on a balcony and look out over the battlefield, excited, surprised, a whole range of emotions as they realize that they have actually won the battle. So that is essentially my version of the Battle for Crait 6. Now, like I said, a lot of things happen in between as well, up in space between Snoke, Luke, Kylo, and Rey. There's a big showdown, and Luke is actually mortally wounded and dies, having defeated Snoke, and that is when Kylo takes over command of the First Order and tries to have Rey join him and what have you. But that is happening in between as we see the battle unfold on the ground. But I think my version of events on the ground makes for a much more exciting, dynamic battle instead of what we got in the actual movie, which is a very bland, boring sequence that has no tension to it, and just a boring fight at the end between Luke and Kylo. It gives us nothing of interest, and I think what I've given is an interesting battle with fun moments. It's an adventurous battle where Finn climbs into a walker and takes control of it. You have Poe and Rose crashing into the ground and stuff like that, and you also have the big assault where stormtroopers charge the trenches, and you have a big shootout between soldiers and what have you. I think it works, doesn't it? Anyway, leave a comment or two if you disagree or agree, or have other ideas. Why not leave a comment? And with that said, may the force be with you, and see you around. Bye.